Hi everyone, my name is Eduardo Loya and I'm speaking on behalf of Team 11 for the introduction of our now finished project. For CSE360, we were tasked with creating a full stack application that will be used as a bookstore for ASU students exclusively. Let's get started. With a full stack application, there's a lot to think about in terms of what technology will be used, how it will be used, and how it'll all fit together. In order to help with this, our professor has kindly split up our project into 4 easy to follow phases. To begin, in phase 1, we only had to create mock-ups of our GUI, which we used Google Slides for. This was just to get an idea of what we actually needed to build using JavaFX, and also get an idea of what kind of user inputs we would need to manage. Phase 2, as you can see, was soon thereafter phase 1 because we only had to do mock-ups, very simple. In phase 2, we began to dip our toes into brand new software. Our professor had recommended us to use Asta in order to model our code in a readable manner. To do this, we created UML diagrams and learned about the needs for these types of programs, why people need to specifically map out their code before they begin programming. For phase 3, after weeks of planning and discussing, we moved on to actual programming. Again, we used JavaFX for all of our front-end and back-end, and SQLite in order to create our GUI as closely as possible as we could to our mockups. SQLite was used for our functionality in terms of saving book information for sellers to sell their books, and also storing buyer information for them to log in, see their purchased books, or purchase new ones. This happened, as you can see, almost an entire month after phase 2, and the reason for that is because there's a lot more that goes into creating these UML diagrams and programming out the entire project before we can get a review or another phase going. Finally, for phase 4, we are now compiling all of our information together to create this video and close off our project. The point of phase 4 is more for self-reflection, see what we've done, see what we did wrong, what we did right, what could be changed, and what could be helpful to other students in the future. Throughout this journey, as you can see, we had to use a multitude of different programs, not to mention just the ones on screen, which are Google Drive, Google Slides, SQLite, Asta, and JavaFX. While JavaFX is more of a programming language and not a tool, or not a program itself, it is a tool that we did use to help us create this. But on the outside, there were still a lot of other challenges, such as each of us individually needing to complete our own parts separately, and then coming together to put our work together. And then in other sections, such as the SQLite, we had people diving into completely new territory, having never worked with it before, or even Asta, creating all of our diagrams. There was a lot of challenges to creating this program that are not necessarily blatantly seen, which is why I think this class is very helpful in showing this to students.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Jose Mach, and I'll be presenting the summary of Phase 1 of our project, as well as an explanation of the use cases and the corresponding use case diagram. During Phase 1, we designed several key components of the system's GUI. First, we created the layout for the login page, which serves as the initial interface for all users. This page includes input fields for ASU email and password, an I button to toggle password visibility, and links for forgot password and create an account. We designed a forgot password page, allowing users to securely reset their passwords by entering their email address. We designed a sign-up page for new users with fields for name, email, and password, along with validation to ensure that passwords and emails match. And finally, we outlined and designed role-specific dashboards for buyers, sellers, and admins. As you can see here, here's the buyer GUI. Buyers can browse books, manage their carts, view their profile, check out. Then here's the seller GUI. Sellers can list books, view analytics, and track revenue. And here's the final GUI, which is the admin GUI. And admins can oversee transactions, user counts, and system statistics. Phase 1 also addressed multiple use cases that are necessary and integral to the system. For example, all users represented as generalized users can log in and recover their accounts through the forgot password feature. Buyers can filter books by category and condition, view recommended books, look at their cards. Then sellers can create and edit book listings and view sales analytics. And admins, like I already mentioned, they're tasked with overseeing the system's operations including transactions, user accounts, and statistical data. And each of these use cases was considered in the design process to ensure the system meets the needs of all user roles. And yeah, the diagram visually represents the interactions and roles within the system. The generalized user category includes all users who can log in, sign up, or reset their passwords. Buyers can browse books, manage their carts, and proceed to the checkout. Sellers can create and manage book listings, view analytics, and track their earnings. And admins can oversee the system by managing transactions, user count, and analyzing statistics. And yeah, the relationships between use cases are depicted through include and extend arrows. For example, calculate total price is an included step within view cart, as it is a mandatory part of the process. Similarly, filter book extends browse book, representing an optional addition to the functionality. Yeah, that's everything for phase one, and now let's go to phase two.
This is Yu Tam Fan, a member of Group 11. Everyone, today I'll be presenting phase two of our ASU bookstore project, part of the contribution to Teams 11 works on phase four, focusing on our system architecture and design documentation. Firstly, for object identification, we utilize CSE class responsibility collaborator cards to define our main system objects. One of our primary object is the user class, which serves as the base for every other rows, including admin, buyer, and seller rows. This approach allows us to manage permissions efficiently while maintaining clean code architecture. Other objects include book, cart, and transaction, each with specific responsibilities and collaborators. Secondly, to our class diagram establishes the relationships between the mentioned objects. The diagram shows how the transaction manager interfaces with both orders and cart items, while the book catalog manages the overall inventory. Notice how we've implemented inheritance through the user class to handle different user types. The relationships between classes are designed to minimize coupling while maximizing cohesion. For our functional testing, thirdly, we developed 6 test scenarios covering critical user interactions. These include authentication flows, profile management, and session handling. Each test case clearly specifies the input scenarios and the expected outputs, ensuring comprehensive coverage for our core functionalities. For example, one key test scenario verifies that sellers cannot edit book listing while they are pending admin approval. A significant design decision that we made was to consolidate user types into a single user class with a user type parameter to manage permissions. This approach simplifies our authentication system while maintaining security through role-based access control. It also makes the system more maintainable and reduce code duplication. In conclusion, phase 2 has established our system architecture foundation, ensuring scalability and maintainability as we move forward with the actual implementation. Thank you for your attention.
Hello, this is Ned Nair for Phase 3, where I will run through the most important coding modules in our bookstore project. Here's a login page code. This is the GUI. Please enter ASU email, please enter password. I forgot password, create account, and everything. And this is actual connection stuff where, as you can see, it's connected to the database. So all of this is like the user is added to database and stuff. This is the connection. This is the check to see if the emails and everything are lining up as well. There is more code, but this is the important code that this is the most important code of the login. Here's the buyer code where the actual content and everything is created for browsing and search. Where you create browser content, you see the different fields, and so that's for filtering, and this is for browsing the books, and that this is connected to this create book cards, where the book cards are created through the database, which using connection code in the class, not shown here. And this is the create cart content where the subtotal, tax, and total are shown to the user at the end after they tally up all the books and everything is all calculated at checkout. Here is the seller code where the seller was mostly all front end, where the seller could list all the books, the publishing year, and everything, and all of this was put into the database. So mostly the seller code was the actual input and everything, and so the seller can jump in, input a book, and put it into the database. So that was mostly this code, and there was the database implementation for that, and but this was the GUI for that. Here's the admin code where there's the open manage accounts page, open statistics, and open manage transactions page. This was in the main admin dash where the buttons are connected to these, and those go to the separate things, the separate pages. In manage accounts, as you can see, load users, update select account, refresh users, remove selected accounts. So this is where they manage the accounts, and all of these are connected to the database. And here's the open statistics where different based on the database statistics, there is a class in there that actually generates statistics for this specifically. It uses that, and then it uses the map to generate graphs. And here is the manage transactions where it creates the transaction tables and actually loads those transactions so the admin can see them. Here's the database code where, as you can see, get best-selling book for the admin, get books, close. This is the connection stuff. Create the transaction table, insert the transactions, insert users, and confirm login. All of these are there is more, but due to time constraints, these are the most important stuff. All of this database code is connected to the admin, login, buyer, and seller to connect it all together and actually make the code work. And these were the most important code modules that we use in phase 3.
Hi, my name is Paola, and I'm going to be talking about some of the conclusions that we've reached. After working on this project through the semester, there have been many important lessons that we've learned. Our team learned how to work together and how to make progress regularly. We learned what worked well for us and what didn't. Some things that worked well were meeting multiple times a week to discuss our progress and dividing all of the work evenly. By doing these things, we prevented conflicts and lack of communication. Each member of the group was always aware of what was going on and up to speed at all times because of this. Some of the things that didn't work so well for us were setting strict deadlines and trying to rush things. By taking our time and not putting so much pressure on each other, we were able to do our best work. Some of the most important things we learned were different frameworks for project management. The one that our group was really focused on for the project was Scrum Project Management. It was incredibly rewarding to be able to use Scrum to complete phase 3 of our project specifically. It helped us work much more efficiently and in a more cohesive way. Something that we can recommend to future CSE360 classes is to start working early on the project. It is highly important to do this because you can get ahead of any problems before it's too late. Another thing that we really, really recommend is to make sure to get to know your group members a little more if you just met in that class. It's important to be able to gauge what others' communication styles are in order to be able to work together in a positive way. Also, it is crucial to meet with the customer at least once before each phase of the project. This is how you will be able to know what the customer is expecting from you and any requirements that you might have missed. In our project, we noticed an average of 15 defects per phase. This is why it is extremely important to stay on top of it and look for solutions as a group. Also, another reason to meet with the customer as much as you can. The number of lines produced in our project was 100 per hour. We learned that we got a lot of coding done whenever we met together as a group. It was a total of 65 commits to GitHub between all of us, working together to make our project better day by day. Overall, there were a lot of lessons learned, and we discovered that by communicating through this process, we were a great team. So, yeah, those are pretty much all of the conclusions that we reached.